Adam here from the Digital Goja showroom. Today we got some customer service questions that we're going to answer on the Altura Photo wireless flash trigger and flashes just after this. So we've been getting a lot of questions on how to use the Altura Photo wireless flash triggers and flashes. So I'm here today to answer most of those common questions that we've been getting on how to get them to properly sync, could I use the flash triggers with live view, and just general basics on how to set up the triggers and the flashes properly. So in front of me over here, I have the dual wireless flash trigger set, and all the stuff that I have out here can be purchased on our Amazon or Digital Goja or eBay or Walmart site. So the dual wireless flash trigger set will come with one flash trigger and two receivers, and it will come with a bunch of cables. Now, this is a trigger set for the Canon system, so the trigger cable that will be provided would be for the Canon cameras, and we'll have a listing of all the compatible cameras that this cable will work for. Typically, this cable will work for most of the Rebel series cameras up to cameras like the Canon 80D. The other cables that are going to be provided, you'll notice it has a 1/4" mono plug as well as a 3.5 and a 2.5 mini, which is a sub mini plug. This would be used if you're going to connect the receiver to a monolight. So if you have something that you're using in the studio that you want to use these triggers for, these are the cables that will allow you to connect the wireless flash triggers from Altura to those. So first thing first, in order to get these triggers to work properly, there's certain steps that you need to take. One is you're going to need to install the batteries that are provided with the packaging. The receivers are going to use AAA batteries, and the transmitter is going to use a special battery, and it's a 12-volt battery, the 23A, and all the batteries again are provided in the package. Next, once you install the batteries into the transmitter and the receivers, you're going to need to make sure that the channels are set appropriately. Now, by default, all the channels should be set appropriately for these units. If you and your buddy have purchased the same kit and are shooting in the same location, what you're going to want to do is make sure that the channels for your transmitter are set up one way and theirs are set up another way. That's really important because if they're both set up the same, when they trigger their camera, they're going to trigger your flashes wirelessly and vice versa. So you want to make sure it's set up appropriately. So after you make sure that your flash triggers are set up with the same channel, what you're going to go ahead is set your camera to the manual mode. It's important that you set the camera to manual because these flash triggers are completely manual. They won't work with your flash in automatic, program, aperture, or shutter priority. Now, the flash might fire, but you're not going to get the proper exposure, or the flash triggers won't sync. So once you make sure that the camera's set to manual, your flashes also have to be set to manual. That's another important feature. So if you get the Altura Photo TTL flash for either the Nikon cameras or the Canon, you want to go ahead and make sure that the mode on the flash is set to manual as well. Again, it won't work in TTL, so you have to make sure that the flash is set to manual. So you have the TTL flash and you have the manual flash. The manual flash you don't have to worry about, it's fully manual, but you do have to make sure that the mode is not set to either S1 or S2. You have to make sure that you see the LED lights illuminated for the power indicator, which would tell you that you're in the correct mode. So once you have all that set up, you want to take your transmitter and you want to install it onto your camera and make sure that the transmitter is installed properly on the hot shoe. You want to make sure that it's pushed all the way in and making sure that the center contact is making contact on the hot shoe. And that will be the important step, because if it's not attached appropriately, when you fire the shutter, it's not going to make contact and it's not going to send out that signal to transmit the flash. After you do that, then you can go ahead and install the flashes onto the hot shoe of the remotes, and you're going to want to switch the setting from off to flash. And that's another important thing, is you cannot have it in the camera mode. It won't sync with your flash. So you switch it from off to flash. It's installed onto the flash is installed onto here. And again, you want to make sure that the flash is pushed on all the way onto the hot shoe of the receiver. Once the flash is installed on the trigger and the flash is set up to manual, you're going to notice that you're going to have an easy time triggering the flash wirelessly. Another important thing to take in mind when using these triggers is that you cannot work in the live view of the camera. It doesn't matter what camera you have, if it's a DSLR like a Canon or a Nikon, you have to make sure that you're using the viewfinder to focus and take the photo. Again, you're not going to get a synced image. You might notice that the flash does fire, but again, it's not going to be in sync with the shutter. Another important step in making sure you get complete compatibility is that the shutter speed is set no faster than 1/200th of a second. Certain cameras can sync up to 1/250th of a second, but the flash triggers have a maximum flash sync of 1/200th of a second. So you can shoot at 1/30th of a second, 1/60th of a second, 1/125th of a second, 1/200th of a second. But as you start going faster, you're going to have some sync issues. Also, if you sync your flash faster than the maximum sync speed of your camera, you're going to notice a black line starting to form on the bottom half of your frame. And that's because the shutter curtain is closing before the complete exposure is being taken. So again, please take that into account, that you need to make sure that the shutter speed is set appropriately. Another important questions that people have is, could you shoot continuously? And unfortunately, no, you cannot shoot continuously. You want to make sure that your camera is set to single frame mode. The transmitter and receiver will not be able to recycle fast enough for the 8 frames per second, 5 frames per second, 10 frames per second continuous burst rate of the cameras. So again, this is going to be one shot after the other. Now, you can shoot, you don't have to wait 2 minutes to fire the next shot, but you just got to make sure that these are fully recycled. And again, if your flash is set to full power, you also want to make sure that you give it enough time to recycle back to full power to make sure that the next shot is properly exposed. So I hope this video helped you out. If you have any other questions, please leave them in the comment section below. We will answer those questions as soon as we can, and we'll catch you in the next video.